Hey, it's Mike McGrory from freeplants.com. Today in this little short video, I'm going to show you my my small Japanese maple collection. I've got a number of different Japanese maples in my landscape, and I want to show them to you. Some people ask me, on the message board at freeplants.com, because I mentioned I purchased one earlier this year, and they wanted to, like, hey, show us a picture of that, and I'm just now getting around to do that. So anyway, let's take a look at my small but interesting Japanese maple collection. Now the one you're looking at in the photo here is Golden Full Moon, and this thing has you can see the leaves on this are very yellowish in color, and when this thing comes out with a new growth in the spring, the color is almost a fluorescent green. Very, very attractive, very interesting, and a different type of Japanese maple than what most people are accustomed to seeing. Now this Japanese maple is one of the lace leaf weeping red varieties. And you can see that we recently trimmed this. I trim my Japanese maples, especially the lace leaf varieties. I trim them with hedge shears. I keep them very, very tight. Then when the new growth comes out, they fill out and the plants stay very, very dense. So you can see that the foliage on this is it's called dissectum, and it's a very cut leaf. So some people call them cut leaf, some people call them lace leaf. There's one of the weeping varieties. This is one of the red ones, and I've got another one that I'll show you, and we'll get a close-up of the foliage. You can get a pretty good idea of how delicate that is. But these are actually pretty hardy. We're here in Zone 5, Northern Ohio, right near Lake Erie, and these things do really, really well for us here. Now this is another lace leaf weeping variety. It's another red variety. As you can see now, this looks a little lopsided. We had a branch die out on this about a year and a half ago here. So we cut it out and it's going back in. This tree will become absolutely beautiful, mushroom shaped, and it's probably 8 or 10 foot in diameter. Very, very nice plant, something that I just wouldn't have a landscape without several of these Japanese maples in my landscape. Now this one is another lace leaf weeping variety. It's one of the dissectum varieties. This one is called Waterfall. It's green in color. Very interesting plant. Now, we've talked about grafted plants, and of course this one is grafted. I'm going to show you exactly what that means. This part of the plant, this stem, is actually a Japanese maple seedling that was grown from seed, and the seedling itself would not be all that attractive. But when you graft this lace leaf weeping variety on top of that, and that's where the graft unit is, way up in here, up underneath the canopy where you can't see it. And again, it makes it a very interesting plant. So that's where we talk about grafting, and that's where the graft takes place, all the way up at the top. So a seedling was grown to this height, and then this variety was grafted on top of that. And I'll show you get a little close up of the foliage of this particular plant. Now you can see how delicate this thing is. It's very, very, very interesting, and this is how it gets the name the lace leaf or the cut leaf Japanese maple. All the dissectum varieties look like this, and they weep down. In other words, they don't have an upright growing habit. This one is called Waterfall. Now this one is called Butterfly. This is more of an upright. It doesn't weep, and the foliage is not the lace leaf variety, but this is Butterfly. It's a variegated variety, and it's I keep it trimmed like this. Now normally these things would tend to grow upright, but I keep this thing trimmed because I want to maintain it to a reasonable size in my landscape for a long time. So, but this thing is absolutely amazing in the spring because the new growth that comes out on it is very, very pink in color. Very, very attractive plant. Probably one of my favorites. Now here we are in closer, and you can see a very, very interesting plant. Look at it's got a delicately cut and a white variegation on the edge. And like I said, in the spring, this is outlined in pink, all the new growth. Very, very interesting. It's really a nice plant. Now this is another of the dissectum varieties, but this one, and I have 3 of these in my landscape. They're variegated, and even though they're all the same variety, every single one of them looks different because of the way that the actual scion or cutting where it was taken from the variegated plant. That creates a pretty drastic variation in the plants depending on exactly where the scion that is used for grafting is taken. But this one is called Goshiki shidare, And Goshiki shidare, I think, is the way it's pronounced. Goshiki shidare is a very interesting name, interesting plant. This thing changes color throughout the season. It'll go from a pinkish green to a variegated white, and then almost a brown in the fall. I've got two, like I said, I have two more of these, and I'll show them to you, and you'll see the difference between all three of them. Now this is the second of the, another of the Goshiki shidare. Very interesting plant. Now I just put this one in probably about 2 months ago. I bought this from a wholesaler, a friend of mine, and I actually paid like $350 for this. So as you can see, they can be pretty pricey. But by the same token, the prices tend to vary somewhat, because I went back to the same guy and bought another nice one, and I only paid about $150 for that one, and I will show you that one. Now, as you can see, this plant has some very interesting variegations. There's some green in here, red, and then up in here, it actually gets kind of a white color. Now, when I got this early this spring, it was almost pink. I mean, it was really breathtaking. One of the reasons that I picked it out of the entire lot that they had there. But again, this is Goshiki shidare, and this is a lace leaf weeping Japanese maple. Now this is the third one. This is the Goshiki shidare, and you can see that it's very different than the other two. Very light white in color with a little bit of green and some pink thrown in there. So now here again, I'll try and show you this. You can see the very interesting variegations in this particular plant, and I'm going to also try and show you the actual graft union on this plant. Okay, now we're underneath the plant, actually looking up at it. And this is, you can see the graft union. It's very difficult to tell from here, but this is right where the plant is grafted. So this variety up here is just a regular Japanese maple seedling, and this from here up is the desired variety, which is the Goshiki shidare in this particular case. But that's to give you an idea of what a graft union looks like. Now this one, this particular Japanese maple is called lion's head, and as you can see, this plant is only about 30 inches tall, and it has a very interesting, it's deep green in color, but has a very interesting foliage. Again, this is very slow growing, but an interesting plant. This is the lion's head. This is a close-up of the foliage. Now you can see some cut ends in here because, like I said, I just did middle of summer, we just got done pruning to break all the rules of pruning, but again, we just take head shears and shape these things up so they have a nice head. I can assure you that if you don't trim them, they get very open and very unattractive. This one is lion's head. This is Mike McGrady. I hope you've enjoyed my little tour of my Japanese maple collection. Until next time, happy gardening and stay inspired.